Hi all. Right, just before move on to the next German impulse, isn't it? Yeah, and I've still got to draw my three new cards yet as well. I had two or three comments from Martin. Um, he did say John Butterfield has indeed clarifying that unit moving closer to its army objective can be adjusted to hex, not closer to its objective. And yeah, and I'm pretty sure Martin says he reckoned he had sent me something, and I did look a little bit, but I'm convinced that we discussed it and went over it, and initially I was a bit shocked by the fact that you're not the unit's then not closer to its army objective, so it's not really following that rule, but it was then brought home to me about how that tactical adjustment kind of overrides that, and it's good, and it makes some sense as well. To be honest, like it's better being in an empty hex, better being not across a river than coming across a river. So yeah, but I mean I did move it that way, and when John Brown brought it up, but it's just easy to miss because you're not quite thinking about that right away, but when you do move adjacent to an allied unit, you then have to stop and say to yourself, right, can I tactically adjust? And usually I do, but I think it was just because it was then breaking the rule of not being close to the army objective. Okay. The other one he mentioned says attacking solely with low supply units does feel wrong. One reason may be that it's not allowed in German solo. Now, that's not something that crossed my mind, but whether that's in the back of my mind, and maybe that's what was making me doubt the possibility that Allied units, German units in the Allied solo game could still make an attack in low supply. I mean, there's nothing to say that we can't do it. So, but then sometimes the AI differs, as we'll get on to with the next point actually. But he didn't. He said it certainly looks like that it's fine in this module for them to attack. So we did that anyway. And the final one. So this is he says regarding combat tactics for units in low supply. After comparing the wording in 12.3, 12.3.5, 13.21. It seems to indicate that the army artillery tactics should always be added, but it's definitely not crystal clear. And this is I'm talking about the army card applying that combat tactic to all attacks. I mean, my thinking of it is that you can't apply that, but he says the wording seems to say that it should be allowed. I don't really see. The only wording I do see is 12.35 says all attacks conducted by German units activated by an army or army group card benefit from their artillery combat tactic. So, I mean, it's saying there all attacks get that combat tactic. But then, one of his pointers is 13.21, and 13.21 is about low supply. So if I can find the page. And it says no combat tactic may be played in the unit support. So, you're playing. I mean, it could be that it's allowed, but I think it's a question that probably needs to get put to John because. I tend to feel that if I'm going to sway one way or the other, I'm going to sway to the side that says, no, you can't play that. You can't use that as artillery. And that's not just because I've done it that way. Well, maybe it is. Because I believe the combat had 2 artillery chits drawn, didn't it? But if I go back and decide that, I've also got to draw another combat chit because they would get an extra chit draw for using that combat tactic. But I'm just going to leave it the way that I feel like it should be played, and they should not benefit from that combat tactic. That feels right, but like I mentioned to Martin, my reply. Sorry, I got cut off there again. So like I was saying, it doesn't kind of feel right, and I mentioned to Martin in my reply saying that. what was it? The AI does work in mysterious ways, as in, sometimes it might not feel right, but in actual fact it is meant to be, yeah. But I think the only way we can confirm that for sure is, again, get John Butterfield involved. So hopefully Martin will tuck that question aside, and next time he's maybe got something to ask John about, he can add that to the list. Okay, but I'm going to leave it and let it go the way it is. And yeah, I know it would have been detrimental to me if we had done it the other way, because we drew the 2 chits, but it's just a bit much to go back to it. And then, and like I say, I'm not convinced. If it was John Butterfield telling me right now, then I would go back and redo it. But I think we'll probably not find that out for sure for a little while yet. So I'm just going to go with what I think with that one. Because even Martin, he doesn't come across as sounding, absolutely sure about it. So, okay, right, let's get on German. Oh no, we're going to draw some new cards. Right, let's do that first. Right, so there's the 4 cards that we've got. Just draw. That's 3 division for the British Corps. 21st Army Group card. And the 5th Corps supplemental card, so... okay. That division, that's... what is it? Do we get to activate the 53rd or the Guards Armoured Division? Well, we can have a look there. But 21st Army Group card, so we'll need to try and make the most of that, because like you see, you only get these cards coming up. We just had the 1st Army card too, so we've got them both today. But got to make the most of them, because you're definitely not getting them tomorrow, and who knows if you get lucky and get them after that. So this does have air power on it, so if it wasn't something we wanted to I don't think we need to. I mean, just looking at the units we've got in that are in low supply, it's just that stack that we used in that last attack. Right, okay, well, it's not our turn yet anyway, it's the Germans to go. So that's our hand just now, so I'll get over to the German cards. Okay, next German Impulse. The 7th Army card. The 1st SS, okay. So this is a primary card, so it's going to go in the command card slot. This is going to be the support card. There is no event there. That does give artillery and assault coordination for the combat tactic, however, so we'll need to keep that in mind. And this being the primary core card means we're going to activate units. We're not going to look at replacement points. So yes, okay. So and there's still these 2 units from the 1st SS in the reserve units box, so we need to keep that in mind as well. Right, let's go and activate the 1st SS. Okay, there's still a load of these units. We've eliminated 1 of the 12th SS. Actually, that was that last combat, wasn't it? However, this is a unit in low supply, so remember, if it can't move in movement method 1, it'll then skip all other movement methods. There's nothing... Oh, actually, I didn't look in there. Hang on. No, not that they could really do anything. Well, I suppose they could maybe consider an attack, but it's a 2nd SS unit in there, and the 67 core, one of the mechanised 67 core units in there. And then we do have a couple units back here, and these 2 infantry units that had moved into these towns. Possibly free to move. Well, this one's got it's got a 66 core unit in beside it now, so it'd be free to move away. I'm not so sure there's issues with Veal Sam at the minute either. Okay, so no robots adjacent to any of these units, and the army objective marker is here, isn't it? Yeah, six bands army, it's showing the west. So yeah, units need to reach there before it's going to move, so it's not going to move. Right, I'll go and see what I think is going to move and where. Just moving through the movement methods. I got to movement method 7 again, and something triggered there, and I don't believe I have passed on this information. I got an email from Martin. He had asked a few more questions from John. Did I talk about this? I don't think I did. Oh, you know what? If I've said it already, then I'm repeating myself. But just going over them here again, I was looking at them because there's one that. If the way I'm reading it right, really kind of throws up some kind of contradiction that John Butterfield may have made. That, like I say, I'm not sure if I'm picking up right. Anyways, questions were Rule 7.4 speaks about how the British Corps units enter the game. The last passage reads, once a German unit enters a hex west of the Meuse, reserve units of XXX Corps deployed as if in Corps in the US First Army. Does this mean that they can be deployed using the First Army card, or is only to refer which hexes they can be placed? And John Butterfield's replied, it means that when deploying XXX Corps unit, placement restrictions apply as if the unit is in the First Army. It does not allow deployment with the First Army card. Right, I think we did we talked about that one, and I think we came to that conclusion, so that's good. The second one was a German detachment is placed when a unit moves or advances through a hex with a hold value. It is removed when a German unit enters a detachment hex. I take this to mean that when a German unit retreats through a detachment hex, the latter is removed and no new detachment is placed, correct? And John has replied, yes, a German detachment is removed if a German unit retreats into the detachment's hex. A detachment is not placed when a German unit exits a hex via retreat. So if you recall, I think we had that issue in here somewhere where I rewound and decided I couldn't move because it was a detachment. I had to stop, but the detachment had been placed by me retreating the unit. Both Martin and John Brown piped up and said that they thought that wouldn't be the case, and there John Butterfield's confirmed that. So good, well done guys. Number 3, during a German attack, if you draw fixed artillery as a combat tactic and support card lists artillery, am I correct in thinking that they are not considered different tactics, and the former is used if in range, leaving the support card where it is, while the latter is used when out of range? And John's replied, yes, that's right. If a fixed artillery tactic can be applied to combat, then artillery tactic on support card would not be applied. Well, I'm not sure that question came up in my game, so whether it's something Martin's asked, I would have figured that, use the fixed artillery. It's still artillery when it comes down to it. So, however, fixed artillery does have only that range from the west wall, so worthwhile asking, yeah. Number 4, movement method 1B, move adjacent to the Meuse River, is active until a German unit has entered a hex bordered by the Meuse River. The OKW units are released if a German unit is adjacent to or across the river during the reserve phase. Assuming movement method 1B is there primarily to make this happen, what happens if a German unit reaches the Meuse but is eliminated or retreated before the reserve phase? We assume movement method 1B still be used until the prerequisites to release the OKW units were met. Was that correct? Yeah, if you remember, we were talking about, like, if you did get a unit adjacent to the Meuse and say you then eliminated the unit or pushed it back before the end, before the next reserve phase, then a unit has already reached the Meuse, so it's as if you shut off that movement method. But if you've not released OKW, should that movement method be shut off? And we kind of thought that no, it shouldn't be. And John did come back and confirm that. Where are we? Yes, that's the intent. I guess to avoid the loophole, movement 1B should read, if no German unit is in a hex bordering or across west of the Meuse River, move one active unit and add that movement method 1B is disregarded if the OKW reserve has been deployed. So basically that movement method is to allow the OKW to be deployed. If they've then been deployed, you can scrap that movement method. But if for some reason the unit reaches the Muse and they've not managed to deploy them, then you still consider that movement method. Right, okay. And then the last one, regarding enemy action Ardennes, he asked a couple of questions regarding D-Day at Peleliu as well, I think. So there must be a game going on with that he's following. Now this is the one that I feel that there's either a contradiction or something's getting missed, whether it's just me that's missing it. Anyway, number 5. So an observation rather than a question, Martin starts off with, which makes me feel that it is because this is like, it's not a question because this should be how it is, but John kind of contradicts it a little bit. A full-strength German infantry unit that is the only infantry unit adjacent to an allied unit typically can't build an IP because movement method 7 says that unit's movement is complete. If the same unit loses a step, i.e. gets bracketed combat strength, it's no longer eligible for movement method 7 and consequently will be able to build an IP. So this was the big one that took me a while to, we thought we got the answer from John saying that, let's just say, where we got, here's an infantry unit here. Say he's the only infantry unit adjacent to these allied units. We'll get down to movement method 7. His movement is considered complete, right? Let's just say it's not got IP. His movement is considered complete. I know we went over this quite a few times, but however, you know what, I'm just trying to make sure that I gather everything right and whatever. So, right, where was I? So his movement is considered complete. So my initial thinking was that, okay, but he's still not moved. So at the end of the turn, I'm going to build an IP on that guy. Then it came about, we thought we got it confirmed that Martin had asked a question. Now, would I not be best going back and finding that question before we carry on here? Well, let's just say, Martin, it was one of the questions he asked John, a big list of questions. If this movement is considered complete, does that mean that it can't do anything else apart from attack? Whereas I kind of thought that it could still build an IP, possibly brought back to reserves. And John Butterfield confirmed, no, once that movement is considered complete, all he can then do is possibly attack if he's within the guidelines of that. You cannot then build an IP on him because he has considered to have made a move, which, I think the way it was worded was wrong to me. So, and in actual fact, the answer to John's question here, like I say, contradicts that a little bit. Hang on, I better put that before I forget. So John has said, the actual issue here is an unfortunate phrase and its movement is considered complete. If you recall, I changed this wording in developing enemy action Kharkov movement methods to read, the unit does not move by this or any subsequent method. So he's changed the wording of it to sort of sound a bit better. The unit does not move by this or any subsequent method. So what it's saying is, it can't be considered for any other movement method. But in the way I think he's coming around here to it is, but it's not actually made a movement, but it just can't be considered for any other movements. So he says, I plan to apply this change to enemy action Ardennes rules as well. This allows the unit to receive an IP in activation step 7, which is the intent for units that don't move. So that is kind of contradicting what he said before, I'm sure. So unless he's not quite grasped the question, let me just go and see if I can find the question that Martin did ask. Well, I'm struggling to find this, and I'm absolutely sure in my mind that this was one of the questions that Martin had asked. So it must be there somewhere. I've been searching high and low. Give me a sec. Okay, yeah, I found it. It was a question I'd posted a while back and I never got any reply. And I think it was one of the questions Martin had originally asked, sent away and asked John. Anyway, my question 4 at the time, was movement method 7 and 8 end with movement is considered complete, movement method 12 ends with considered to have moved. Firstly, are these units considered to be in the same state? The wording is different but could have been intended the same. Secondly, can these units still perform steps 6, remove eligible active units to the reserve units box, or step 7, place IP markers on eligible active units. So John Butterfield replied to this, the units involved in all 3 movement methods you mention have acted. They can participate in an attack but can't be removed to reserve and can't receive IPs. So, and then this was Martin linked this, and then I responded nice to finally put to bed that whole movement is considered complete and considered to have moved. And well, it's just opened up the question again. Unless John's not understood, I mean, the units involved in all 3 movement methods you mentioned have acted. They can participate in an attack but can't be removed to reserves and can't receive IPs. Okay, so I'm confused then. It seems like we're back at square one with that question, going by what Martin's, what I've just described as the recent answer he got from John. I mean, he wasn't even asking the question, he was more, how was it he put it? That was an observation rather than a question. But he says this allows the unit to receive an IP in activation step 7. Okay, I don't know, we're still in the dark there with that one, I think. So, right, I don't know how to deal with that one then if it comes up, which it may well do. Movement method 7 comes up quite a lot. Right, we shall see. Okay, let's move on with this, shall we? That was it. So I'm just trying to get these first SS units moved. Nah, I thought there might have been a movement method 7, but this is only a bracket unit, but there's a mechanised infantry there adjacent to these guys, so there's already an infantry unit adjacent. There's an infantry unit adjacent here, and this is mechanised infantry adjacent to here as well. So I don't think there's going to be any movement method 7. Right, moving on. Almost movement method 8. Infantry enter town occupied only by German units possessing armour in which Allied supply can be traced. Manhay is in that position. It's just an armoured unit, and Allied supplies can be traced 1, 2, 3, 4, and then away. But this guy, 1, 2, 3, is just short of it. I was just showing you though. I thought first this guy, but he's armoured as well, so we need mechanised or infantry to be able to move into it, and there's nothing. This guy here I thought might, but he's just short as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So not quite the range to get down there, but it was just to show you that it's maybe one you could miss, the fact that that is just armour in that town, and Allied supply is traceable to it. And I always remember when I read that when I first thought it was odd, because how can Allied supply be traceable if there's a unit actually in the hex? But that's basically what it's meaning. It's meaning that while that's just an armoured unit there, can Allied supply be traced to that hex? And it can. And I think the purpose is that if you do get an infantry in there, then let's this armour unit move on, or there's possibly something else, but that's what I'm seeing. Okay, I think we're going to get 10 to 13. The last one's relieved detachments, but again, there's not an awful lot of detachments now around. There was a couple new ones spawned here, right enough, but I don't believe Allied supply will be traceable. Sorry, it's not Allied supply, it's an Allied unit proximate, isn't it, that it needs. So that's definitely not. And even the ones that are and towns. There's no allied units proximate to any of these detachments that we could reach. 2, 3. This one is, but we're out of range. Oh, Hoofways, Grant. I don't know, that's probably zoom out a bit. I think I might have actually spotted one. Where are we? It's much further down. Hoofways is here. This unit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is proximate to that, and this infantry can move into it from 1st SS. So okay, let me have a look at that one. Yeah, I actually think that does make that move. Move active infantry units each to a hex with a German detached marker to which an allied unit is proximate and to which German supply can be traced. Stop there and remove the marker. So this was a funny one. I think this came up before as well. I mean, you know, although you're saying this allied unit is proximate, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, in actual fact, he needs to stop there once he reaches that detachment. But I can only assume it means that he can move right into that hex. He's proximate to that, but it's a little bit baffling because he wouldn't be able to move right. You know, right now I can't move that unit right in at that time because he's got to stop on becoming adjacent to the detachment. So, but it doesn't really talk about any of that. It just said an allied unit is proximate to the detachment marker to which an allied unit is proximate and to which German supply can be traced, and German supply is traceable. So yeah, I think this guy is going to now. He's moving out of Veal Sam, but 1, 2, 3 out of there. He's moving out of Veal Sam, but I don't think there's an issue there. He would have left the detachment there and also generated one there. Yeah, and Veal Sam, there's still not. The problem part down here is it's you know, when I was looking at things, you kind of thought allied supply might be traceable down through here because you've got these 10th Armoured units, 3rd Corps. But the trace comes down here and then it can't go into this hex. Again, it's this unit that's causing the trouble. I think he's been sitting here a wee while, so we could maybe do with trying to, well, my last impulse, in fact my next impulse might be having a go at that guy actually, to be honest, because we can't even turn up here, tracing supply, we can't go through that way because there's a German unit here. We can go through detachments, mind, but we can't get zone of control there. And then this bridge we would be able to cross, but we can't go up that way, and again we can't come into this hex because of zone of control. So it's really this unit that's causing the allied supply traceable up there. However, I don't know how I got into that, but right, I think that'll be it. Oh, it's quite good to see that one though, because I don't see that very often. Yeah, so on 10 to 13 then. Selector number 2's first. He's in here. He's adjacent to Ufe, so he's restricted to moving away from Ufe because there's only 4 strength in Ufe. So 9.21A applies there. So unless he could reach, you know, if he could get into this hex, he would. And yeah, he's got, well, actually, I don't think he's got an active unit with him, has he? I think that's from another. Yeah, he's got OKW units in there with him. So, however, he can't infiltrate across a river because he's a mech unit. So, yeah, mechanized unit may not infiltrate across a river. So he can't move the arrows. He can't get closer to his army objective. Like I say, he does need to stay around Ufe anyway with the restriction. You can't even get into this hex, which is across the river, but so, and they can't infiltrate like we just discussed. He's already adjacent to an allied unit, so that's him. He's going to sit there. Next is, that's 2. Right, hang on, hang on. Next is the Piper unit. He's been here for a while. I think he was sitting holding something surrounded for quite some time, but it looks like he could get moving now. So arrows, right, that's primary into there. What's the bridges here? Right, primary 6 with a B if the bridge is good, which it is, going up there. So that'd be 1, 2 into the broken hex, 3 into here, 4, 5, 6, and then extend it another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he can't get the 6th. So does that feel right? I think so. Again, there's no restrictions. Broken. Yeah, because that's just a secondary arrow. That's a primary arrow coming across the bridge. So yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Extending it into here. So what have we got en route there? Oh, he's going to leave the detachment in there. He's going to lose his IP because he's moving. There's no. And there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another 2 detachments left there and there. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, and that doesn't get a detachment because it's adjacent to map edge. Yeah, I think that's okay. Right, next. Okay, Unit 9's next. Now he's in St. Vath. Oh, this is the one that had some issue with arrows, didn't it? It's got a primary 5, secondary 5, and just a secondary 6. Oh, we asked a question about this, didn't we? Yeah, I found that. One of the questions Martin had posted to John. In St. Vath, there are 3 arrows, 1 primary and 1 secondary for the 5th Panzer Army and 1 secondary for the 6th Panzer Army. However, there's no primary arrow for the 6th Panzer Army. Is this intentional? And John's wrote back saying probably not. The arrow for the 6th Panzer Army should be primary. Good stuff. Okay. So that would make sense. Although there was some bits where you had, where was it I seen recently, like along here? Yeah, you were seeing see that one there is a secondary with a 6, but there's a primary going that way. Oh, I don't know. I think if you can go by the primaries. However, I suppose it's irrelevant here because I can't go that way because I'm not 5th Panzer Army. I can't go that way because I'm not 5th Panzer Army. I can go that way because I'm 6th Panzer Army, right? So, however, I go secondary for 1, and then that's into a clear hex. This is a primary, so that's 2, 3 into here, and then can extend it another 2 by going up here as a 6, and then primary into there. So that's what we're going to do, and we're leaving that infantry in there as well. So 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, an extra 2 it gets, isn't it? And that would be a detachment there. There'd also be 1 there as well. That's right, yeah, they just get an extra 2 movement, don't they? An infantry unit expends up to 2 additional movement, yeah. And no restrictions broke. Yeah, that's fine. So unit number 10's just above him there. I'll just move up a little bit. Yeah, he's going to move up beside Piper. So primary arrow into here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then extending it 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, he's going to end up beside Piper. That's fine. 9, 10. Right, we've got an 11. There's 11. Can't move the arrows. His army objective's in there, so he can't get closer to it. Can't infiltrate. He's already adjacent to an allied unit, so he just stays there. Sector number 12, infantry. And move the arrows 1, 2, 3, and then an additional 1, 2. So yeah, that can fill that hex. He's going to go. Right, so he's leaving there. He's leaving a couple of detachments, I think. That's now fully stacked. Detachment here and here are run out of chits, so these will probably they'll be falling off. Anyway, I don't think they'll be relevant. Okay, what was that? 12. So I can see 15 and 36. Well, let's look at 15. Okay, so can't move the arrows, it would stop there. He can get closer to his army objective by just jumping the river into either of these hexes, but this one's, well actually no, that would still be 3 away. That one is only 2 away, so it would have to be that one. Yeah, and I think this guy, although we're waiting, he wasn't able to move the movement method 1, so he moves right to the end, but it says instead, after completing all movement for supplied units, move the unit towards the closest hex from which supply may be traced, entering such a hex, stopping if possible. If already in a hex from which supply may be traced, do not move. So he actually is in a hex that can trace supply over into this road and then away. So he's not going to move. But I do believe this guy is going to get one hex closer to his army objective and jump across the river there. So I think that just leaves this bracketed unit. I think he's jumping about a bit, isn't he? Yeah, because he already moved up there, and I think he's going to move back down. Because can't move the arrows. He can move one hex close to his army objective into here. Because he's 3 away, that would be 2 away. Yeah, I think he's going to do that actually. So both the units go move the movement method 11. And missed somebody. Oh, well, I've only just missed them, so it should have just been before that bracket unit. This is a 26, and I'm saying that he's probably not moving, is he? Can't move the arrows. He's adjacent to Ufe as well. So again, he would only be wanting to try and get to a better hex round Ufe, and he's not able to. So, and he couldn't infiltrate, he is mechanised. So, that's right, it's not just armour, it must be mechanised. A mechanised unit may not infiltrate across the river. However, he's not stacked with an active unit either, is he? Okay, so, yeah, he's going to be the same as selector number 2 and just sit beside Ufe. So, I think that's it. I think that's all the movement, and I've missed another one. Selector number 4. How did I miss that? That's ages ago. Well, none of the units could have moved into that hex because they all moved with extended movement, didn't they? He can't move the arrows. I think he's been in this position before where he just can't really move. He's adjacent to this. I think that's right, isn't it? Because he can't jump across here. Zone of control. So getting one hex close to his arm objective, and then coming back via the road, he's not going to get closer to his army objective. So again, he sits there, can't infiltrate, and he's already adjacent to an allied unit. So yeah, he would have stayed there. I did kind of miss them when they're spread about like that. Yeah. Right, I think that's me got them all now. Okay, so there's a couple of guys in the reserves, so we need to check up for that unlikely event where place eligible active reserve units on German detachment markers. 15.4 it is, isn't it? This is when, hang on. Yeah, it's when the detachment needs to be in the army, needs to be part of the 6th Army detachment, but an allied unit needs to be proximate to it. Well, you can see that movement method there, coming down there, kind of covers that before you even get to this movement method. Well, this isn't a movement method, it's just that part of the activation. Don't think there's any detachments that allied units are proximate to. Don't think so. We struggled to actually find this one, didn't we? So, and all these up here, there's no allied units proximate to. But I think we can skip by that. So now to check for any attacks. Now remember, we have a artillery and assault coordination as a support card. We have 2 reserve units. So yes, let us begin. Well, our first look at things is going to be at Ufe, isn't it? That's select number 2, so we consider that as a lead unit. Well, you can look at here or here, I guess, right enough. Select 2, here's the first, yeah. Just got to remember that we've got that number 4 up there though, Grant. Okay. Right, so he's just going to be on his own, isn't he? No, because we've got assault coordination, yeah. Ooh, oh, this could be interesting. This could be an attack on Ufe. So, right, let's get this page up. Right, so what we're considering at first is him on his own. So, yeah, I suppose you need to take everything into consideration to find out which one's the best. Yeah, because once a group of units eligible for a potential attack has been identified, calculate the situational strength ratio. So that's when you would calculate. So I do need to look at all units. So, well, I suppose we should still look at this, because this, that is a river there, isn't it? So this is across a river. He's in a forest. He's also supplied, whereas the other units are not. It's going to be looking here, isn't it? Because we're going to get the support of these units too. So, right, let's see what we've got. We've got, oh my gosh, we've got a lot. Six. I looked at this unit already. Is that right? That unit was flipped. I mean, I don't feel like he got moved accidentally, but I'm just not sure I can remember them being in a combat that lost a step. I guess it must have been though. Okay, let's just no look back, right? Let's move on. I'm sure it was. There was possibly an attack here, or did they not attack here already, maybe? Yeah. Right, so that's 6, 11. And then we'd get these guys to, which is another 8. So that's 19 going across the river. So that's 9. And then this would be involved 2. That's 5. So that's 14. But we're not finished yet, because we've got 2 reserve units. Now, no, they can't go in there, can they?
but right, this, were both these stacks full? I think they were. So that's full and that's full, isn't it? Oops. Don't go flipping other things, Grant. Yeah. So maybe these reserves can't be involved here. Because yeah, they need to be able to trace reserve supply. Can't go in there because this isn't a road. This is a road here, but you can't trace into there because it's an allied unit exerting zone of control. And they can't go round the back here. So no. I've just forgot the number I just counted up. I think it was 16. Right, no, hang on. That was half to 9. So it was only 14 then. Is that right? Why did I feel it was 16? This was 19. Yeah, I just went and double checked. So it was 19, so that's half to 9. And then we get this straight up 5, so it's 14. But we can't include the reserves. So it's 14 to 4. 14 to 4. They get a... They're adjacent to supplied allied units, so they get a +1 for that, but they get a -1 for being a low supply, so that balances out. So it's still 14 to 4. It's not a forest, is it? It's a broken hex, I think. 14 to 4. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, so yeah, quite a good chance of this one happening then. So 14 to 4 is 3 to 1. And modifiers. Attackers include elite. Did they have elite? They do have elite, so we don't need to look about. Well, we've got elite as well. I can see that right away, can't I? Activated by an army card that is not. Support card shows applicable combat tactic. Well, yes, obviously, because we're using that. So yeah, so they're -1 there. So it's a 3 to 1 odds with a -1. Oh, it's a 9, no, but 3 to 1's quite high up. Let me see. 9 reduces it to an 8. Cancel if less than 3 to 1. In fact, 9 is cancel if less than 3 to 1 as well. So we had 3 to 1, so it is going to go. Yeah, in fact, there's possibly some of the war ones that could affect it when you've got, you know, defend their arm, only defend their armour, and think, well, that wouldn't be applicable, but yeah, there was a high chance it was going to hit. Okay, so we've got an attack here. So, oh my god, look at the time on the video, Grant. You know what, just before I start this attack, I'm going to cut the video because it's like, I've obviously been blathering again. 43 minutes here. So it's just to cut the video and make it, because before I start running out of memory. And for some reason, sometimes when it gets too big, I can't I have trouble getting it across on the computer, and I have to use other things to manoeuvre it and whatever. So I'll just cut this, but I'll be right back, basically. Okay, cheers. Hi all, right, back with this attack. So let's get on with that. So these get, well, you know what, I'll not turn them just now because the bottom guys are going to also attack. Everyone's going to attack. So we're going to draw a combat tactic because this is where we might, if we get the assault coordination, might mean that 7th army card stays in the support card box. So here we go. Infantry infiltration again, but this time they are attacking, so although it's probably, I think they're already flanking, aren't they? And it's a town, so yeah, no, it's not going to do anything, is it? Yeah, so I suppose that's quite good for us. It does mean they're going to use the 7th army card, which in some ways means they're using it rather than, well, they would have just been activating all the units down at Ettlebrook and start moving west. However, you know, that's we've still not got that other cavalry unit moved into R1, so they might well move down towards R1, so that's probably good for us. So they play that. Then, because this card is different, I'll just put it on top because infantry infiltration doesn't do anything anyway. So they play that for artillery and assault coordination, which then brings in, like I say, all these other units. And then we would add active German reserve. So let's say we've already established and there's nowhere we can put them. So both these IPs are going to drop off. All these units are going to get involved. And we just need to work out the numbers. Now, we can't play a card either because we're in low supply. So, yeah, we need the Czech gods to be on our side again, I think. Because that was the downside to that attack, wasn't it? We lost a step in here, so we've only got 2 steps. This is not great. Okay, I'll work out what we've got here. I already counted this already, Grant, didn't we? Yes, we counted 19 across the river. So that's 9 and 5's 14. No, we're not situationally counting this time, so it's 14. It's still the same. It's still 14 to 4. So it is still 3 to 1 odds. And then chip pools are going to be, pretty sure they're all getting a chip pool, aren't they? Yeah, these are all armoured units, well, mechanised. So 3, 6, 7 units, 7 chip pools, 1 for elites, 8, 1 for the infiltrations, 9, and another 2 for the artillery and assault coordination as 11. So 3 to 1 odds, 11 chip pools, and like I say, we can't do anything. Just got to keep our fingers crossed, really. Right, I might as well bash on. I'm going to go and get 11 jets. It's more bad news, I'm afraid. Got quite a lot of odds chits, which you would have thought would kind of go in my favour. They were all big sort of odds, but they just didn't go against me, really. Woods Forest had clear on the back, unfortunately. Flank attack didn't count. But 2 dispersed unsupplied, and both of them are the priority, obviously, because we do have a defender adjacent, but obviously the priority being if it's not supplied, then it's going to take the hit. Attacker elite, yes they have. They have no green units attacking, and then that 1.5 to 1, which didn't do us any favours either, because 2 A- ones anyway. So I think we're in trouble. I think we're losing Ufe, aren't we? Just check 3, 6, 7. That's 11 chits. Yeah. Okay. Let's work it out. Yeah. 4 hits to us, none to them. So 1 gets soaked up for the town. But we've only got 2 steps in here. So it's going to be retreat, and lose 1 of the units. Yeah. I get something going last impulse and then I get bashed back for it, don't I? Right, okay. Yeah, okay, so the first of the 3 hits, I retreat back to here. I don't really want to move adjacent to that, do I? Or does it matter? I'm going to be dispersed anyway, am I not? Well, I suppose I might as well. Now, hang on though. Yeah, I was just wondering about if I retreated back in here, become dispersed, does that then enable this guy to consider an attack back on that unit? I think the one I was looking for, 12.74 is already retreated units. If a unit ends its retreat in a hex occupied by a friendly unit, and that friendly unit is subsequently attacked in the same activation, the retreated unit contributes nothing to the defence. And the attack, but that's kind of different. He's just going to be there himself, but he's going to be dispersed. He's only going to 2 strength. I just figured that would be an opportunity for them to attack still. Well, they would do that check. They're certainly not going to check. Oh, well, that's maybe not true, I suppose. They might get support. Nah, I don't think so. I don't think they would check that. I think that's more than likely would be the target that they would check. So I don't think there's anything to say that couldn't happen. However, can a unit be attacked twice in the same activation? You would have thought not. Yeah, no, that must be there, yeah. Hang on. Yeah, I knew it had to be there. It's just within the illustration of attack eligibility. Oh, here, attack eligibility. Yeah, as a 12.1 attack eligibility. A unit may participate in only one attack in a given activation. A defending unit may only be attacked once in a given activation. And then it talks about, however, see 12.74, and that's the one I just read about if it moves into a hex with another unit that's another friendly unit that's being attacked. So, yeah, my concern was if I put him here, like, obviously, could he just, but no, that's not. So, yeah, I do think I will retreat in there then. So that takes it down to 1, and then the last one, I'm going to have to take a step loss on one of these guys. I think I'm going to take it on the infantry. I know it's elite, but at least the other unit. He's part of 7 Corps. And he's not bracketed cavalry. Oh, what a mess, Grant. So I need to get a... Now that's 2 more, right, first of all, that's 2 more units in the limited units box. So they're going to gain a victory point. They're up to 50. But they're not finished yet, are they? And we need a disperse marker to go on top of this as well. Right, so that's it, and then no hits to them, so, well, advance after combat. Okay, so it's just the top 2 units here that can advance, because remember the other units were brought in assault coordination. So he's unit number 2, and there's no messing about. He's into Ufate. Would he be surrounded? He's not surrounded in there. It doesn't matter. It's a 7 hold value enemy. He's going in there. There's a restriction that if he was surrounded, but he's not surrounded either. So another 5 victory points takes them to 55. Oh dear. And then the other unit, 26. Well, there's a guy already advanced. Yeah, so he would still advance on a 1 to 6. I'll just roll that quickly. Let's see that it's not. It's a 5, so yes, he's going in as well. Which is good for them too. Also with that, they're going to gain this bridge, which could be important. That is now a way of tracing across the river. I don't think it quite means 1, 2, 3, 4. Not the guys in Liège still can't. I don't think trace supply. 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait a minute. No. I was going to say they could trace into this hex, but yeah, they can't trace through this hex. But I'll tell you what, it's not far away for them to make this happen. Okay, so they're the 2 units advanced. Let's say the other guys had assault coordination, so they can't advance. Yeah. So, well. Okay, so next check would be selector number 4. But that's 4 against 5. The 5 is doubled because he's in a city. So that's 4 against 10. And it's just him. We can't include any of these units now. We have no support card anymore. Oh, that's a lie. That's a lie. He could get 2. He could get 2 reserves, can't he? Which is another 7. And they could go right in that hex, admittedly. So that would be 12. What did I say that was? Right. That's a big difference. So 5. So 12 against 10. 12 against 10. I don't think there's any additions to that. It's not adjacent to it. It's not a forest. Not clear. It's not dispersed. Okay. Yeah, it gets double for being in the city. So that's a potential 12 against 10. There isn't a support card. So it's only 1-to-1 odds. Attackers include elite. I think he's got an elite infantry, isn't he? Yeah. Which we would be bringing an elite from the reserves, but so that doesn't count. It's not an army card, no support card. So it is just 1-to-1 with no modifiers, so probably unlikely. An 8, that's going to be too high. Cancel less than 3-1, so that's not happening. Okay, which one's next? I think the only unit left is 11. And he's on his own. Like I say, we worked out he can't attack this. It's already been attacked. This is going across the river into 3, so that's 2. That's 1 against 3 plus an IP. And this is 2 against, 14 or something like that. So that's not going to happen. I mean, the reserves, I started thinking, oh my god, they can't get deployed here, can they? But they can't quite. Although we've got a bridge here now, reserve supply, they've still got to trace through this hex, which is Allied zone of control. So reserves couldn't be placed there and trace reserve supply, fortunately. So yeah, I don't think he's doing it. And the other guys that are further out the map, they're not adjacent to anything. The guy that moved down here and this guy here. So I think that's it all. And that was pretty bad. These units in here had moved into here, but they're not adjacent to anything as well. So I think, actually no, that's not the case. He didn't move, so he could build an IP. I don't think there's anyone could bounce back. I think it was just him and him that didn't have any movement or any activation at all. And he's the guy up the top's already got an IP, but this guy could build one. Yeah. So another bad impulse for us, really. And we're not even halfway through the German deck yet. And that's them at, what did I say, 55 points. What do they need by the end of this day? Is it 60? They need greater than 60, so they need 61. These are our 6 still. I suppose that means... Nah, I don't know. Well, it's possible. Right, okay. I'll tidy things up. That's their impulse over. No support card left, obviously. I'll tidy things up. I'll probably take a wee break now. I could do it, get some lunch. And but still, hopefully, well, that's kind of like put me on a bit of a downer, that one, but I need to keep persevering. I've got to keep plodding on, really. It just feels like they're starting to make a breakthrough there again, and I suppose we're on the defence again there, aren't we? Right, anyway, I'll tidy things up and I'll get back with an Allied impulse sometime soon, guys. Okay, cheers.